John, did you fuck Dracula?
You gotta tell me. You gotta let me know.
Why'd you fuck Dracula, John? This episode of the Talkcast Podshow is brought to you by Dashlane. If you're like me and you take security seriously and you have a billion different passwords for all of your different accounts, Dashlane might be just what you're looking for. Dashlane is a password management database that you can use to store and keep track of all of your different passwords for all of your different accounts. I know I have trouble keeping track of all of my passwords, and as an owner of a small business, we have so many different accounts for so many different things. You have to go through so many different hoops to get the right password from the right people. Dashlane is a lifesaver for us. One of the best things about Dashlane is it is absolutely free for one device eternally. But if you want to try their premium version, which allows you to use their service on every device you have, you can try it for free by clicking the link below. And you don't even need a credit card when you sign up. One of my favorite features of Dashlane is if you use it as a browser extension, it'll start filling in your passwords for you, and it is completely encrypted, so if they ever become compromised, your information will not. So thank you very much to the team at Dashlane for sponsoring this episode. Remember to click that link to start your free trial now, and let's get on with the Talkcast Podshow. Hello everybody and welcome back to the Talkcast Podshow, America's #1 show on the internet, and the only podcast that stays crunchy, even in milk. I'm joined here today by Stephan and Zito. How you guys doing?
Relaxed, rejuvenated, and ready for 2020.
Ready for 2020? You rolled through the break well?
Oh, yes.
I'm still mad about Rise of Skywalker.
That is fine. I don't
make it other people's problem, but I am still mad.
I feel so bad because like normally after I watch something like I was lukewarm on The Last Jedi after I watched it, but I actually warmed to it over a while. Rise of Skywalker on the other hand, I've just been like every time I think about it, it
ages like milk.
Yes. Like, and not the kind of milk that you want to turn into cheese, like that kind of, like the last drips of the bottom of a cafeteria pint milk.
Yeah.
That kind of milk.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not going to interrupt people like I did before on Rise of Skywalker, Skywalker review. I was particularly passionate that day.
We were pretty brutal. The guy, sir, he was just like,
yeah.
But yeah, like that was probably the roughest part of the holiday season.
just not being able to see. I love that Star Wars. I want to see Star Wars again.
Yeah,
no, it's out, and you're like, I don't want to see it.
I think the only solace I took away from it being I'm not like I like Star Wars, but
you're not invested.
I'm not invested in Star Wars. That's a better way to put it. But like it's just me. I'm just like, you know what? I saw all of these movies pan out, so I'm satisfied. I saw how it begins and I saw how it ends.
It's a thing that happened.
But it's not. But it's not a like. Okay, so this is definitely a lesson in plan out your goddamn story before you film your movies.
I'll still argue against that. I really think like it could have gotten tied up well if someone had decided to actually like make a sequel.
And not cut their directors like 5 times in the middle of fucking production.
I read a number of comments that says like it's just like a bad improv performance where freaking Ryan Johnson's like, wow, it sure is great to be fireman, and JJ runs in like, this is an ER, you shut up.
Yeah,
I've got a gun.
I've seen people make that claim about Ryan Johnson, and I'm like, no, Last Jedi, like, it may not have had answers you liked, but it did follow up the story of Force Awakens.
It was definitely trying to change things, and it made a lot of people uncomfortable, and I think they reacted poorly. But we're not here to talk about the Rise of Skywalker.
Do you know what? Hold up, before we move into
sure.
we are going to talk about. Do you realize what you like after what you just said? Now I'm just imagining this whole entire trilogy is that one skit from SNL with Adam Driver.
Oh, the undercover boss one.
The undercover boss one. I'm just like, wow, that fits all too fucking well with how this trilogy just fucking went down.
It's it's amazing to me because it's kind of like the anti-prequels, because it started off with Phantom Menace, which even as like as a child I enjoyed, but as I got older I'm like maybe it wasn't that great. And then the second one was the worst, because I think I still hold that Attack of the Clones is the worst Star Wars movie ever made.
100%.
And then Revenge of the Sith just kind of like came around, and I had so much goddamn fun with that movie. I still like it. You can. I think
it's the most competent. It's the most competent.
Okay, that's fair.
It tells a more cohesive story than any of the other ones, for sure.
But then this trilogy is like, you start off on that high road, like, oh, Star Wars is coming back. Sure, this is just like a soft reboot.
I'm having fun.
And then there was the question mark that was for the Star Wars community, The Last Jedi, where it's like you either loved it or you hated it, or you just kind of fell out of Star Wars.
Yeah, you're like, okay, I'm having fun. It's like, okay, now I'm being challenged. Okay, well, where are we going?
And then Rise of Skywalker is just like, what is this mess? Oh my god! But yeah, that's what it was to me.
Let's talk about good Star Wars.
We can talk about good Star Wars. I wanted to ask, like, what you guys been up to lately? Like, you've been doing some stuff behind the scenes here. I know you've been you talked a little bit about working completely over your break on Fistmaster.
Yeah, I've been nonstop animating, and then now that work started, I'm either animating or editing for a live action show, which coming in March.
Yeah, Unabridged. We've been having so much goddamn fun filming that, and I'm really excited for the next episode you guys are planning. I have very little to do with this one, so I will be very interested to see how it comes out.
Yeah, and a lot of fun stuff and stuff I really want to do, but it's also, especially with Fistmaster, it's a lot of only me working.
Yes.
So it's a lot.
A lot of you out there don't know this, but Stephan has been doing so much of the heavy lifting behind the scenes. Like a lot of the videos out there that are getting pumped out, this guy right here has been making a lot of that happen. That Cats review, how about that?
Scott edited that one.
He did edit that one, but I guess it's a review? I'm not really sure.
We kind of
just
too
obfuscated by the fucking cat in the center of the screen.
I think that's the best part of the video.
And then Quinn breaking character, I was like, oh, fuck, awesome.
You get a little too much freedom sometimes, but you know what? You play with what you love. Speaking of Zito, you worked on a D&D book recently. You got it on DM's Guild, right?
A few, yes. During the end of TFS at the Table, I put out the mock, which was basically playable mimics, because that went on TFS's Patreon first, and then I got it out on DM's Guild. And then after the entire thing was over, I had nothing to do, so I was just like, fucking around with game design with this game is something I really enjoy doing, and I was like, okay, so I know I'm going to be taking a break from D&D for like another month and a half from now.
Yeah.
So why don't I just play around with some dumb ideas? And then I just started churning out more stuff and more stuff and more stuff. And then I said, would people like a Patreon of that? And they said yes. And I put out a book that now, instead of just Yanti, which is the poor man's snake, I just went, fuck it, full Naga, go entire snake, fuck it, who cares?
Nice.
And it's on the front page ever since it's been on there.
Hell yeah, dude, that's awesome.
It reached fucking copper status in one day, less than 24 hours.
For those that don't, like, what does copper status entail?
Copper, basically how it goes is, like, DM's Guild has this, like, little rating system where it's just, like,
copper, silver, gold,
platinum. Yeah, like, how many, like, the amount of units that you push out and the amount of money that it makes, you get those. Okay. And copper's the first tier, followed by silver, and then electrum, which I don't know why. And then
in between.
Yeah. There's an in between silver and gold, and it's electrum, and apparently the mock just made that last month.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I'm like, fuck. This is something like fucking high school going into college me has wanted to do for years.
Congrats, man. We'll have to drop a link to that in the description down there so people can check it out for you. As for my break, I spent it, many know that I'm going to be hosting the next campaign for TFS at the Table, but it's also going to be a different game. It's not going to be D&D.
Yep.
I've been working on modifying the Apocalypse World system, and I'm getting it to the point where it's finally ready for actual proper play tests, so we'll probably do like one or two of those live at some point, but I definitely need to do some private ones, but that has been a majority of my time going into 2020, and I'm really happy with the kind of work I've gotten on.
How does it feel coring up a system?
There is so much math.
That's game design in a fucking nutshell. Not even if it's paper or if it's video games. Math.
I have so much math that I'm like, okay, so if this works like this works like this, what's the most important resource? Okay, so I got to balance that a little bit better.
You're playing with Booleans, my dude.
It's hard. It's way harder than I think anybody gives like pen and paper game design credit for. Like, it's not a simple thing.
And the best part is that when you get the payoff of like, all right, now it's time for the paper test, it's going to look like trash, but you get all the best results out of it because the players will do shit that flips whatever you're thinking of 180 and it gives you way more ideas. It's so much. It's so fucking gratifying.
No, I was talking to my wife actually, just because I was showing it to her, like, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? And there was one problem that had been plaguing me, which is the idea of because in Apocalypse World, the battle system is very much based on one-on-one reactionary combat.
Right.
I'm like, what happens if you're outnumbered? And she gave me an idea that just fucking blew my mind. I'm like, okay, sweet. I can, yes, this is how I work it. And I love her. She's amazing.
Yeah, you always, like, even if you think you're going to end up with a bad result, it's always good to be like someone from the outside. What do you think of this?
Yeah.
And then they can either come back at you and give you an expected answer or something you're never going to fucking even think of.
Exactly. That's why I'm really happy to finally be at a point where I'm willing to put it out there for feedback. I threw it out to like Antfish earlier because he's not big into tabletop at all. I'm like, no, that's kind of the point. I want this to be as beginner friendly as possible. I'm coming from a mind of somebody who's played a lot of tabletop games. I need to know what it looks like to somebody who's played next to none.
Right.
Have you run into any issues with like classes, like that issue of balancing, trying to make them feel powerful but not too powerful, and then other things?
I have addressed that issue at the very least, and I decided that instead of like a standard class system, I have perk trees that you can purchase from anything to make your character a little bit more diverse. Like, let's say, okay, I want to have like something from the soldier tree, but I also want to be able to work with something like on an engineering front.
Yeah.
So you can like pick and choose. Oh, I also want this from like a diplomat tree, so I can talk to people more. So there are perks that if you synergize so incredibly well that they might be considered broken. But I think that's also kind of the fun of playing your character, because there are always going to be people in D&D that metagame to build the best possible result. But then there are people that just want to play a character that they want to play. And I want people to be able to play the way they want to. More importantly than say, well, this guy, like, he can conquer anything that he wants. Cool. That's the way that person wants to play. Maybe they'll find it's less fun than playing somebody that can't get away with anything.
Mm-hmm. I can think of it this way, because the way you're describing a lot of things, like let's say like you wanted to say like, okay, for someone who's played 5 and someone who's playing this new system for everything, there's the additional features that most people normally never like go to when they play D&D for the first time, because that's like, all right, your ASI, you get to either boost up your ability scores or you take this other feature. I've always liked the idea of playing with the other features, but most people would just opt for the better score because I think that's the better thing.
Just make your character better.
Nah, dude, because if you could take those features and then make your character play around them, because they give you the benefits of all these other things that maybe make your character seem a little bit more fun in certain regards, that totally works with that, and that's actually something I'd really like. Yeah, and that's something I'm kind of playing around with. I'm going to be looking for more feedback as we go on. But a little bit of quick housekeeping. I'm wearing this shirt right now because it's probably one of my favorite shirts that we've ever designed, and it's now going on clearance on sharkrobot.com. There's a bunch of old designs that we had that have been on sale for years that have just kind of slowly dwindled out, so they're taking some off the market. So if you're looking to get shirts like this or Piccoloshi or a few others, make sure to check out sharkrobot.com/team-4-star to get your last chance at some of these bad boys, and maybe check out a few other of our things.
They're now limited run.
It's a new decade, my dude.
It is a new decade. New year, new me. New year, new shirts.
Yep.
But going back to what we were talking about, another thing that I was doing over the break is I binged a lot of Netflix and Disney Plus. I've pretty much had The Simpsons on in the background at my house ever since Disney Plus came out. And of course, since we were talking about Star Wars, we got to talk about The Mandalorian.
We do.
We do indeed. Because
I binge watched it all yesterday.
So it's most fresh in his mind.
Yeah.
Very fresh in your minds. I have to say, I think this might be the best thing Disney has done with Star Wars so far. I don't know how you guys feel necessarily on that front, but just as far as what they have done, I think this might be the positive to the Rise of Skywalker's negatives.
Here's the thing. I haven't been satisfied, like genuinely satisfied with Star Wars since the original trilogy, and this brought it back.
Oh.
I personally say that this is the most consistently good thing that Disney's done.
That's fair.
It doesn't have the highest highs for me, and a lot of what The Mandalorian is a little like, I don't know. I like the show. It is consistently good, but for me, it's rarely great.
And that's fair. I think the first episode brushes against greatness.
Yeah,
I think
the first I'd say.
The first episode, I think, is like one of the best possible pilots you could have had for it. It introduces the character. He doesn't say anything until like 10 minutes into the episode.
It takes a while.
They let him just be that silent badass. You get that awesome barroom fight scene, and then guess what? Those guys, like, you know, there's like a little twist in there. It's like, oh, who do you think he's there looking for? And then you have that escape scene where Brian Posehn shows up. It is a solid pilot. The one thing I wasn't a huge fan of is and this is like, you know, big on me for Star Wars for like a lot of their tertiary media. Krypton, or like Carbonite, was never meant to be a prisoner transfer device.
Now, I will say, this is one of the ones where it actually takes place after what happened in Bespin and Empire.
And it's true.
So it makes more sense here.
It does make more sense here. But do you think that the word for like, oh yeah, it worked, so everybody now knows how to do this, so...
I would say a bounty hunter might look into a way to pacify somebody. Now, is it forced, and does he never use it again in the entire series? And is it just there because you know Boba Fett was involved?
It's there for the
that?
iconography.
Yes. But I can't explain this one away very easily.
Yeah.
Unlike the times, but like where
in all the Old Republic stuff,
where it's like, no, that's not. Vader was trying it out on Han just to see if it would work.
Yeah, because Han was the guinea pig.
Yeah,
it's like it might kill him.
Died.
It might kill him. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't know him.
Good.
Man's banging my daughter.
Yeah. You didn't know that yet.
True enough. But I think the Force told him.
Oh. He just had that like...
It's like, I don't like this guy. He shot me at the dinner table.
Yeah. He stands in front of the house when Han gets there with a lightsaber, just... You treat my daughter right.
Yes, sir. I'll have her home by 11. 10:30. Yes, sir.
I have altered the deal.
I have altered the deal. We're going to alter it further. That was, I think, the only part of the first episode that I'm like, really, though?
Yeah, that one's a little, like, too fan servicey. Most of the time, I'd say in terms of fan service, the show does it very tastefully and very well.
Because that is kind of the pattern that the show ran into for me after the first 3 episodes, or at least after the first 3 episodes, you notice it. It's like, hey, we're traveling to this place. Here's your celebrity guest star for the day, and here's a bantha. Yeah,
and I'll say, I think there are 2 episodes of this show that I think are pretty weak.
Okay.
The first one, that like the most weak to me, is the one with Ming-Na Wen in it. The one on that was actually on Tatooine.
Yeah. The one where I first noticed this pattern of like, okay, you're just throwing fan service.
Yeah, that episode's pretty weak. And then the second weakest for me was actually the first one that the female bounty hunter shows up in. Not bounty hunter.
The shock trooper.
The ex-rebel lady.
The Seven Samurai episode.
Yeah, it was Seven Samurai inspired, but it was also like, we know what this is like, so we're just gonna sort of get through this.
No,
it's like,
here's the beats for you.
Yeah, it's like, well, I mean,
here's an ATST.
Yeah, and to me it's like, can you tell a story instead of giving me the spark notes of a story?
It did take a while because they needed to establish the monster of the week mentality of we're going to travel here and have this little mini adventure. It took them a while to get to anything that could be considered an overarching story. Like, they introduced the concept of it in the beginning with the Baby Yoda and the Empire, or the shadows of the Empire. And then they just do their monster of the week for a little bit, and then they kind of tie it in at the end, which I feel like a lot of shows do.
Mm-hmm.
So do you feel like that at that point, because by that logic, I feel like only up till episode 3 the story happens, and then the rest of it's fluff until 7 and 8?
Here's the thing. It's not necessarily fluff, because they do introduce characters that come back and are important to the story, but they also kill off a lot of characters that could come back. Although, admittedly, one of my favorite episodes, the Prison Break episode.
Yeah, that one's more...
I just call that episode, "You son of a bitch, I'm in."
Yeah, with Clancy Brown as the Devranian.
Anytime Clancy Brown shows up in anything, it's a fucking solid on me. It's so good.
It's a brilliant episode with working within limitations, because they had 5 sets for that entire episode.
Something like that.
Yeah, and like most of it took place on like the one set.
Mm-hmm.
That they
Just
move
reusing the
stuff
same
around.
hallway
Yeah.
over and
Well,
over.
that's the Star Trek mentality. It's always the one set.
Yeah,
Yeah, you just move stuff like, and you know, it did well enough. It makes sense that it would all look very similar. You just build a modular set, and it's good, cheap, ish filmmaking.
It was a better heist than Solo, I believe. Like it was a good heist episode, a good heist story where there's tensions and stakes, and I feel like it ended on a note where I'm like, yeah, I can get it. Although I'm a little like the X-wing's flying and it's like, oh, there's a ship. Oh, fuck it. There's the thing. Blow it up.
Yeah, just like, fuck everyone else outside that ship. Just get that one tracking device going.
But I do love that the idea of just like two normal criminals, the New Republic's X-wings are just like, we don't want to fuck with them.
Yeah,
if they show up,
that's
we're
military
dead.
hardware.
Yeah, and that was a good way to just put things in perspective and just the scale of everything.
It was funny to see that like the rebels, like the Republic, being known as an actual powerhouse within the universe, where it's just like, you only felt that with the Empire. Now the Republic actually has like a fucking like leg up on power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we didn't even get that in Force Awakens because they immediately
they immediately were dead, and
we spent the entire movie in the Outer Rim.
So there's kind of like the hope for you going into the Mandalorian, where it's like, okay, we're gonna actually have something that might bridge the gap a little bit, because you do get to see like the shades of the Empire and what they're working, and even though they're still apparently working for Palpatine. Yeah. I wonder if they know.
Rise of Skywalker ruins so much.
I mean, like, I like to believe that some of them do and most of them don't, because I feel like anything from the normal canon is above these people's pay grade.
Yeah. I think Moff Gideon probably is just like,
Moff Gus Fring.
Fucking hell. Like, you ruined everything, but we're gonna somehow take it back. We might get the beginnings of the First Order here, maybe.
Like, we had one mention of the word Jedi, and I'm like, you know what? That's all this fucking series needs.
I did enjoy their treatment of the mythology, because at that point, I mean, aside from other secondary projects like Rebels and stuff, there was really only one Jedi that the galaxy knew about, and that was Luke.
Yep.
And according to, like, the Rise of Skywalker and Force Awakens, he's a folktale, because how many people actually met him?
Yeah.
So to people, like, obviously the tales of the Jedi would still exist, but out in the Outer Rim where this show takes place, they'd probably never seen one.
They weren't around Coruscant where all the Jedi hung out. Like, so it makes a little bit of sense that in the Outer Rim, people are like, Jedi, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, a lot of these people are probably like never left their home planet.
It's like psychic sorcerers. The fuck?
No, bullshit.
Bullshit.
So when the first time you see the baby Yoda doing the Force, and Man's like, what the fuck? Like, he thinks he's concussed. And like some of those early, like a lot of the action scenes, especially early on against some of the, like when he's trying to tackle the Jawa sand roller, just trying to get on their fortress, and it's like, this is a feat this man is pulling.
Yes.
And like a lot of the best episodes for action, the director of that, she's moving on to like helm the Obi-Wan series.
Really?
Okay.
So like we're gonna get. I guess we're losing a good director on Mandalorian now, but we're gaining a good director on.
I feel like with all the other directors they have, though, it's still pretty strong. Like, if they lose one, like, that's not a huge crux.
Yeah, she just did like the best action out of all the directors,
and
like,
that's fair.
And any episode where you're like that was standout, we're like, oh man, that was really good. That was probably her, unless it was Taika's episode, Taika Waititi's.
Yeah, his episode was fantastic.
He had also pretty good action in his.
I also enjoyed him as the IG unit, IG-11.
Yeah, I'm like, it's not him being like Goobier. I think he's playing a robot.
Just talking.
Just plain straight-faced. I'm just going to say everything at you. Everything.
That was a joke.
Yes. No.
There's one thing, like, I want to double back on something that you said about Star Wars, about this whole entire thing. Like, the world, like, has bits and pieces of, like, everything that everyone knows, like, ATSTs, like, all that shit, like, is all there and everything. But then they, like, there's some bits of the show where it's like, it starts off with the things that you know of, and then it completely 180s on you with something different. Mm-hmm. Like, the fucking R2-D2 droid that I thought was going to turn into General Grievous.
The gondola droid.
That was so fucking rad. I'm just like, I'm creeped out by the fact this thing has 4 legs and is standing like 3 feet taller than everyone else.
It's like the toys in Sid's room.
Oh yeah! I was just like, fuck! If you do more stuff like this, it reinvigorates everything about Star Wars, because then you can just fuck around with whatever you want.
It really did feel like a breath of fresh air, because they drip feed you the fan service, which, like, you know, they don't just shove it in there all at once like The Force Awakens kind of did.
Yeah.
I wasn't a stormtrooper, dumbass. Like, thank you. That's great.
I will say, we got to talk about Le Baby Yoda.
Yes, of course. The meme of 2019, despite coming in at the very tail end of it.
I will say, like, there's been lots of people talking about, like, oh, well, Baby Yoda's maybe a clone of Yoda. I really hope. Can he just be a member of the species?
Yeah.
Maybe they're just extraordinarily connected to the Force.
Remember, there was a female Yaddle.
Yaddle.
Yaddle was. Do you think Yaddle and Yoda were, you know?
I think this is just a member of Yoda's species. Maybe got stolen from
very
their home
possible.
planet. Which
Yaddle did disappear. Like, they never showed up in episode 2 or 3.
Are we like against the idea that just Yoda's race is just Force sensitive all the way?
Yeah, that's what I'm going with.
They're a very wise, long-lived species. So I think the implication is that, like, their connection and their wisdom that they gain as they go along just kind of makes them more in tune with their surroundings and more
their extra time as a baby. They just get to commune with nature. I will say, I have a pitch for what, like, Yoda's species still does not have a name. I have a pitch for the name.
Oh, okay. Let's hear this.
Oh boy.
I think they should be the Wills.
The Wills? Like the Wills of the Force?
No, like WHILS. They've been around, like, that name has been around since the original drafts of Star Wars. In Rogue One, the not Jedi guy talks about the Book of the Wills. Mm-hmm. So the Wills are connected to the Force in some distinct way, and that's been an idea from a very long time ago. It's not
a bad theory or bad call for that matter. I personally hope that they don't necessarily ever give that race a name, because I guess eventually scientists would have to name it something in that world, but it doesn't feel like...
They have a name for themselves, probably.
Yeah, probably. I mean, or maybe they're so detached from possession that they don't care about titles.
I have a feeling that this is what's going to go down the moment that they actually do. Like, they find that Mando finds the planet. He's going to bring the kid back. They're all fucking exterminated or something.
That's possible.
I feel like the fucking Sith or the New Order is going to just come in, whomp or stomp all over them, and then fucking bail. And no one. It loops back around to, oh, even the directors don't know what the fuck to call this thing.
They've always been so incredibly rare. Like, as we said previously, you've only ever seen 2 in the canonical movies. In the Old Republic, there are more, but they never address it because nobody has ever felt comfortable naming it. Besides, like, George Lucas would probably have a name for it, but
I think if you're going to give it a name, you may as well give it a name that has some meaning, like long term in Star Wars, and the Wills is the thing for me.
I feel like I would be more proud among the fact that I would be the guy who names the Yoda race. I wouldn't be like, oh, what if George doesn't like it? George wanted out years ago.
Yeah.
There's that. You're like, oh yeah, I'm proud. I'm the one that did that. And at this point, it would be Kevin Feige that would probably do it, who's in charge of this particular project, and probably.
I'm okay with Feige making calls for like that.
But then you have like everybody in the Star Wars fan that's like, you don't get the right to do that. It's like, no,
you're fucking old.
It's
gonna grow up.
Yeah, it's gonna happen eventually. At least, like, just hope it's gonna be good. That's it. Just hope it's gonna be good.
Just let it happen.
Get your Baby Yoda lunchbox, put your ears on, and just enjoy it.
Because here's the worst idea someone could have for naming Yoda's race. They could call them Minches. Because Yoda's original name was Minch Yoda.
Oh, that's right.
So they could call them Minches, and that would be a terrible name.
It sounds like a slur.
I wouldn't mind that as a name for Baby Yoda. Like, if his name is Little Minch.
I mean, he's going to have to be named at some point.
Apparently they have a name.
Like, my breath gets taken away every time I hear that word. Fuck. Ugh.
Minch. Ugh. Ooh, you fucking Minch. Oh.
Yeah. You see?
My skin's crawling.
But yeah, Yoda's original name used to be, like, it's kind of like how Jedi used to be Jedi Bendu. Like,
so he's kind of the anti-Palpatine, where Palpatine was once just Palpatine, then he became Sheev Palpatine.
Yeah.
That's his name.
His first name is Sheev.
Sheev.
Oh, that's so skeezy.
He was given that name in the Plagueis novel.
And you know what? You pair the name Sheev, the fact that he fucks now, and his dildo-shaped lightsaber, distinctly dildo-shaped.
Very much.
The only way they can prop up the lightsaber, because it has a rounded hilt, is to put it straight up, and it looks even more like a dildo. Palpatine's a fucking pervert.
He has his fucking name written on the lightsaber. Sheev.
Plus the implication that he used the Force to impregnate.
Yeah, him and Plagueis, it's in the novel.
You know what's fucking... But here's the thing, though. Like, I'm sure it's in the novel somewhere, and I'm sure some fucking weirdo...
I don't think Plagueis is canon anymore, but the fact that they kept the name Sheev tells you that some parts are.
I mean, like, I don't know if this is going to be canonical, or I'm sure somewhere out there, even in fan fiction, someone's fucking done this, but, like, the idea of Immaculate Conception not being a part of the canon, like, I was just like, it's going to happen one of these days, because I feel like that's something that they haven't explored yet or talked about, and then this happens in that movie.
Either Palpatine fucks or the Force fucks.
Yeah.
I feel the Force fucks. I don't think Palpatine fucks.
No, he absolutely
Oh, no, I'm sure everyone else is going to fucking tell me, like, shut up, Zito, you don't know anything. And you're absolutely right, but me as a writer, I would be like, no, the Force fucks. But then everyone on the board would completely 180 me and just go, nah, Palpatine fucks. You know what? Sure, Palpatine fucks.
The entire point of Palpatine is that he's a very charming and convincing man.
Ah, yes, the Raisin Man. Cool.
He wasn't always a raisin.
I know, but he became, like... Here's the thing. Did the dark side turn him into a raisin, or was his physiology going to turn him into that anyway?
It was his, like, okay, so there are a few theories. One is that, like, the dark side does corrupt your features, which it does in, like, some of the video games, but I think it was supposed to be, like, his burn wounds from getting electrocuted while trying to zap Mace Windu.
What it really was is stupid, because he just could have gotten old by Jedi. He was already old. Yeah, Why couldn't he just be old?
Age normally instead of being a weird monster face.
Forehead.
No, now he has to walk down to the Senate floor singing "Heard It Through the Grapevine," and
he's got hard Klingon forehead going on.
Oh man, it has been a very refreshing series though, and I am excited for season 2. It's the Star Wars Western that I think I've wanted for a good long while.
Here's the good thing about that series, and one of the reasons why I liked it: barely anyone talked. Everyone's actions told the story.
They did do a lot more show don't tell.
Yeah, and I will say, and this is going to be one of my stronger criticisms, actually, and I've already been, like, the most critical here, but, like, I think it's good that a lot of characters don't talk sometimes, because I think Jon Favreau's scripts in particular have this problem with, like, really oddly formal dialogue when people talk in a way that just doesn't feel very Star Wars to me. But when Dave Filoni came in for the heist episode and characters talking there, that felt natural and like, okay, that's how people talk.
I don't disagree with you. But there's bits and pieces throughout this franchise that I'm just like, I don't know how I feel. Like it's like it doesn't feel like it clicks together, and then like another episode later, oh, this all clicks together, and then it goes away again.
There's two styles of Star Wars dialogue. There is the George Lucas style, which is the overly formal, I could smell your foul stench as soon as you came on board.
Enunciate every word.
Yeah. And then there's the Kasdan dialogue, which is like walking carpet. Mm. And I'll take walking carpet over smell your foul stench when he came on board any day, because that sounds like how people talk. That's
fair enough. I mean, it's a part of kind of like that Star Wars video serial-esque style that I think it's kind of hard to get away from, and it's almost jarring when you get too far away from it.
Well, like some characters can talk that way, but not everybody.
Yeah, like I have spoken, like that dude. Like I could totally see that working.
Fine. Yeah,
that's super fine.
But like, you don't want Han Solo talking like that.
Yeah, no. There are people that would talk casual, and then there are people that have a more formal upbringing, like the Jedi or those who are working amongst the Empire.
Yeah, and in Favreau's dialogue, unfortunately, I feel like he makes everybody talk. Like, for instance, Apollo Creed's character.
Right. Yeah.
His character talks, whenever Favreau's scripting, talks really formally, and that doesn't feel right for his character. Yeah, it felt a little stilted.
Yeah, Carl Weathers as that old grizzled bounty hunter type.
He should have been a bit more casual with his dialogue.
I actually agree with that, where it's just like, he talks so formal, but for his occupation, it almost doesn't fit, or it almost feels like it's a fucking huge act.
It actually might fit more than you think it does, considering how much clientele he has to deal with, including the Empire. So maybe he does have to be more formal in his uptake.
I get that, but like when he's speaking to Mando, when he starts talking like that, it's just like
I think it could just be habit at that point, though.
Yeah, well, and I'd say
that's my defense.
Like earlier on, I could take that. It's just when, like, even after like he drops a lot of his facade, he's still talking like that a lot of the time, and that's when I start to be like, Yeah,
because like in the whole fucking gunpoint situation where he kills the two dudes, and he's like, guys, I have a change of heart, and he starts talking like with all that flavor in his fucking voice, and while he's at gunpoint, I'm just like, I think you flowering up with your fucking tone of voice is going to get you shot faster.
I don't know. Maybe he's from one of those like Corellia like core worlds, though. I mean, have any of you read his Wikipedia article?
No,
because I'm sure it's full by now.
No, please. You know what? Fuck it. We're here. Go into it. Let's go. Let's fucking go.
that is the thing where, like, you remember in Force Awakens that one red guy that Finn almost got onto a ship with? He's got so much backstory now. He's like a space pirate. He's like people fucking love him.
He's wanted on 5 systems.
It's so weird. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it's just, you know, I have my criticisms of Mandalorian. I think it's stuff that they can improve on.
It's not perfect, but
I think if Dave Filoni writes more scripts, I'll be happy.
Yeah, it's not perfect, and I know Dave Filoni, he's just living the dream. He is crafting the greater world of Star Wars. I mean,
he's sticking his finger in all the pies.
It's obvious because of him that the Darksaber is in this, because I think that was his baby project.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, I get where things are going as soon as the dark saber shows up, because
it's very much tied to
Mandalorians, and it's going to be this whole the rise of Mandalore once again by the end of the show.
I'm so fucking happy he doesn't have the Force.
So
fucking happy.
No, you got to build to that, because they've had ever escalating threats and such. Because, you know, fighting an AT-ST, that's hard. But in the last episode, I think, you know, one man with a jetpack fighting a TIE fighter, you know, that's about where the stakes should go. At this point
right now it needs to be low.
Like, only one bit of shit you've known in the past that, like, has been taken out by, like, 7 other people. One. You get one.
I will say, tell Rebels that, but
Rebels has a lot of
problems. Yeah, but I will say, I do want to make a note that Ludwig Göransson's score is really good.
Yes.
It's very not John Williams, but that really works, and it's expanding the sound of Star Wars.
But it I think it touches on what John Williams' flavor is enough to like really like.
It uses a lot of John Williams instruments, but then brings in other stuff. Mm-hmm. And you know, it's Ludwig Göransson, and he's just a really good composer. He did Black Panther, he did Community, and he did Donald Glover's albums as Childish Gambino. Dude's working all over the place, and he's really good. Oh, Creed as well.
My favorite thing about that soundtrack is when I first heard the soundtrack, I'm just like, why the fuck is my phone vibrate? Oh, right. And then the John Williams shit kicks in and like, oh, it's the music.
It's a solid first season. I can't wait for a second one. I feel like that's kind of the consensus here. I mean, it was good enough that I'm excited for another.
Yeah,
I will continue my Disney Plus experience.
It's even got me a little more interested in the Obi-Wan show.
Yes.
Especially with Rebecca, I think Rebecca Chow is her name.
I've always really enjoyed Obi-Wan as a character in general. Mm-hmm. In fact, I will say this small thing about like a small plus side in terms of my Star Wars experience from The Rise of Skywalker. I disliked it enough that I went out to find other media to enjoy from Star Wars.
Needed a palate cleanser.
I had a whole bunch of credits stocked up on Audible, so I'm like, I'm going to get a whole... I listened to the new Thrawn Trilogy, which is really good.
It is Timothy Zahn, right?
Yeah. The second one's a little flat, but because it plays off a lot of the same things that the Tarkin novel did, because it's Thrawn interacting with Darth Vader, and it's like they're very similar in this, and it's not a very compelling story, but the first and third books are really good. And so, yeah, I've been getting into that. I read Dooku Jedi Lost, which is really good, and I think is the first mention of the High Republic, which I think is what Disney is heading into next. It's essentially the Old Republic, but they're giving it a more proper title.
Okay. That actually makes a very clear distinction between the Old Republic, the prequels Republic, and the New Republic.
Yeah, so this one will be called the High Republic.
Who knows what it gets called after Rise of Skywalker? The New Republic.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be going into the future. I think they are actually going to be jumping into the past to be like, you know what? Let's just have a bunch of Jedi and a bunch of Sith everywhere.
You back away from the future for a while, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think they want to touch that.
I disagree. I think they should go forward. I really think they should go forward. But again, this is coming from a guy who
at this point, it doesn't matter if they do, because it's like, look, fine, that's done, it's gone, it's buried.
That's why I think they should go forward, because the past is dead.
The past is dead. Burn it if you have to.
I mean, yeah, there's a benefit to just being like, okay, so right now we get free reign to tell whatever story we want. Mm-hmm. So, like, you know what? There is no New Republic. It's the Galactic Alliance. It's a whole different thing.
But I think they're going to play it very safe and go back and do what they did with Marvel and take pre-established stories and tell it in a different way.
They can.
I think that's what they're going to do because it worked so well with Marvel, and after the reaction to this new trilogy, I think they're like, maybe we need to be able to go back in time and maybe not even necessarily tell like a single congruent story, but multiple stories that might intertwine, like Marvel.
Yeah. I will say I wouldn't be against like a good cartoon that takes place after Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, like like an Avatar style cartoon, or just like something that's just like good young adult show.
You know what I actually wouldn't mind seeing animated in Star Wars? The team behind Castlevania.
Powerhouse.
I can see Powerhouse
They
doing.
need somebody to come in and do better sound editing, but I think with Disney's budget, they'd probably be able to.
Oh yeah, with a Disney budget on their backing, they could get that. They could fill up any holes that's in that production.
Knowing Disney's style, though, they're almost certainly going to stick with the CG animation that they've been doing for Clone Wars.
Get Gendy again. Sorry.
Yeah, well, yeah, and they would also just hire Disney TV. Which I will say, Disney TV, like even their 2D stuff now, just looks amazing. Like
are they the same guys that do the like that Art Deco Mickey Mouse thing that's going on right now?
That's under their umbrella.
Because I love those shorts.
They're doing like, and here's where my animator stuff comes up. Like they're doing great stuff with specifically Toon Boom, which is what I use as well. And like they make puppet animation that looks so fluid and nice. Like Tangled the series. I don't know if you guys have seen.
I've seen snippets of it.
I've
looks
seen
beautiful.
Like,
the Lion King show looks shockingly good.
Toon Boom?
Yeah.
Wow.
The Lion King show looks shockingly good. It's not hand animated. Like it is all puppets.
Most stuff isn't nowadays.
Yeah, and like Disney's the masters of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've really worked it out.
That's incredible. But yeah, I'm excited for what comes next. It did luckily last long enough after Rise of Skywalker to wash some of that taste out of my mouth. But another show that I've been watching, and I think we talked about this a little bit beforehand, but have you guys tossed some coin to your Witcher recently?
Valley of Penis?
Valley of Penis.
If our Witcher is Netflix, then I toss them coins so I can watch shows like The Witcher.
I'm not sure how I felt about it in the beginning, but I ended up loving it. Let's start from the ground up, though, shall we? What was your exposure to The Witcher before the show? Had you played the games or read the books?
Never read the books, saw people play the game, never touched the game before because I didn't have the time for it. But I watched like a little bit of cutscenes to get a feel for it. I got behind it. Enough that I'm like, you know what? I'd like to see it in live action. I'm not like gonna be like, oh, the books did it wrong and everything. I mean, when they use fucking Gaskier, like they use that name instead, I'm like, all right, someone's obviously read the books. Someone obviously gives a shit about the world. This might be okay.
Do you know why they use the name Gaskier instead of, well...
Dandelion?
Well, here's the thing. That doesn't actually translate to Dandelion.
Right.
It translated originally to Buttercup.
Yes.
But the game developers at CD Projekt Red thought that sounded too feminine, which, I guess they could have just used the name Gaskier at that point, but they decided to go, well, they are a Polish company, too.
Jaskier.
Yes, Jaskier.
Yeah, we're saying...
People in the comments are going to freak out.
Look, we're saying... Look, our stupid fucking dialects say it wrong. I'm sorry.
But, they decided to rename it Dandelion to make it sound a little more masculine.
Yeah.
That was their call.
Yeah, I am someone who I played Witcher 3, and then I decided to read the books or listen to the books, and I did. And I liked them, and now the series is based on the books.
I have a confession to make. The only time I've ever actually physically played Witcher was because I saw someone mod in Tony Hawk Pro Skater physics into it.
That sounds amazing.
And so there's a fucking tweet somewhere.
Come on, Roach, let's do a kickflip.
No, it's not even Roach. It's just fucking... It's Geralt on a fucking invisible fucking skateboard.
Oh my god.
And he goes from one city to another, and it's got Superman playing in the background. I'm like, oh my fucking god, I need to play this.
I will say, that's something that probably wasn't that hard to do, because like you can kind of do that in the base game when there's slippery things.
The physics are really wonky.
So I feel like it's in-game physics bumped up to 11, but it's just Geralt looking like he's on a skateboard.
I absolutely love The Witcher 3. If anybody ever needed something to inspire them to play it, look up the Killing Monsters trailer for it, because that's probably one of the strongest flavor pieces that you could get to be inspired to play that game. It's my favorite game of last decade.
I'd also say if you want to play Witcher 3, watch The Witcher on Netflix.
It got me back in.
No, yeah, fair.
I gave the first episode a shot, and I thought the best description I have for it is if you wanted to make something with the like tone of Game of Thrones, but you had a Xena warrior princess budget.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it works. I love it.
It has a Xena vibe, and I kind of like that about the show.
The moment they put in Hedgehog Man, I'm just like, oh fuck yeah, let's go.
This is classic. Like this is like a really good show on sci-fi.
I feel like I'm fucking 13 years old watching shitty fucking TV. Hell yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna queue up Sliders right after this.
Yeah, I could see this being on like Fox at 5 o'clock on a Saturday.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, this 10th Kingdom Sliders. Did anyone watch the 10th Kingdom? Yeah, okay.
I did not.
It's actually kind of like, oddly enough, a little bit like The Witcher.
Okay.
It's that tone of like old shows that had like a continuing story.
You know what I fucking heard when after the first episode, like I got like a good but yet also bad vibe sort of thing. I just heard disappointed. I'm just like, that feels like this whole fucking show, and I love it.
I will say Henry Cavill superior
fantastic.
to Kevin Sorbo.
Yeah. I thought he was amazing, Geralt. That was
fucking awesome.
That was the thing that I was like most worried about going into it, because I was never huge on his Superman. But then he came out as Geralt, and I'm like, oh, he's doing the voice, and he's got yes, absolutely.
The man's a fucking super fan of the franchise.
Yes,
and it shows.
And then as you see him do like that first big fight scene at the end of episode 1, I'm like, ooh. I'm sold, and then the second episode ended with a power ballad, and I was hooked.
Yeah, musical number is a way to grab me. But I will say I am a little disappointed that we didn't get another sword fight as good as that one in the first episode. But
we didn't really have a lot of chances to, really.
Yeah, I'm hoping this next season gets a bigger budget, because the show's done really well.
Okay, here's a bigger question. How do you guys feel about them playing with, like, the past going into the future sort of timelines between three characters?
The three different timelines that you have going on between like the first half of the show?
I thought it was jarring at first, but it took after like the third episode to click. And I think that's when they want it to click. Too.
Yeah,
that's when they specifically start naming.
Like they drop hints about it, because they'll say like, "Oh, the queen just won her first battle against the blah blah blah." In the first episode, I was like, "Oh wait, we just saw her doing this at a banquet."
Yeah, the only reason I knew right away was just because I read the books.
Of course.
I knew when these things happen.
But let's pretend like we're doing this from the perspective of someone who has never done that.
And I think it's a brave choice for
it's the primary critique I've heard from people that have zero exposure to it. And
but I think the show wants you to have to think.
Yeah, and which I think was a very good decision. It was a brave decision, but a good decision, because it lends itself insanely well to a second watch through because of that.
Yeah, like if I went back and watched that again, I'd just be like, nah,
picking up
this all fucking ties together really well.
Yeah. I watched it through twice because of it, because it's like, because I picked up pretty early on that they were doing different timelines, but it took me a while to figure out how many different timelines.
I will say one thing that I think the show dropped the ball just a bit on, not fully, but just a little bit, is the relationship between Geralt and Yennefer.
Yeah. They give them one real episode of bonding.
I buy their chemistry.
Yes,
but they don't show us enough of their relationship for people who aren't already invested in it to get it.
But I think that's something that they can expand on more in season 2, because they spent so much time in this first season, which just based on introducing you to the world, the rules of the world, and the dynamic that each character has within that world. I think that was more important than their particular relationships, which they established in this first season, but now have room to expand upon as they go on into further seasons. So I don't have a huge problem with that.
I read a little bit into the production of how they did like the first couple of episodes where Yennefer is like all kind of fucked up and everything. And when I was just like, okay, that's all like prosthetics and shit, I'm like, no, that's all the actress. I'm like,
yeah.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of comments when I was tweeting about like watching Witcher early on. I was like, I wasn't sure about their choice for casting Yennefer, though. I'm like, oh, somebody hasn't seen episode 4 or 5.
Yeah, and I think it was a very different choice. This is not how the books introduce Yennefer.
Yeah.
In the books,
it gave her backstory though, from what I was told.
This is the most backstory we've ever gotten of Yennefer.
And I think I like that because I haven't read the books. My exposure to The Witcher was I played Witcher 2 and I played Witcher 3. So I'm using this as kind of you know what, this is great because now I'm learning all those spots that I only read about.
A lot of the stuff is basically canon to Witcher 3.
Yeah.
But because the Witcher games take place after the books came out.
Right.
But Yennefer never got a really solid backstory. Like, we know roughly what happened, but we don't know specifically what happened. So all of this is basically new material.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that, though? Like, how do you feel that it
I didn't mind it at all.
I liked it. I liked her story.
I think it's interesting to right away want people... I think it's, in one way, a smart decision because it gives people a way to empathize with Yennefer right away, rather than being introduced to her just in The Last Wish, where she's kind of a jerk, and people can be more on her side this way instead of being like, why does Geralt even like her?
Because almost like the Witcher community has always been divided on which one is best waifu, Triss or Yennefer.
The game community, yeah.
Yeah, the game community.
Yeah, because if you're someone who read the books first, you never even for a moment consider Triss to be an option.
I feel like I could feel that in the last couple of episodes. I'm like, wow, Triss is so fucking secondary.
She's secondary in the books.
Very much so. Yeah.
She's not really much. She gets her a lot more fleshed out in the games.
Yeah, specifically in the second one, because she's kind of your tag-along / romantic interest in the second one, because you have amnesia.
In the books, she's around. She's a friend, and that's about it.
But no, I absolutely loved the series. I loved the effects are kind of like hokey and budgety.
You want to talk about hokey and budgety? Holy fucking shit. That entire scene where they had to fucking, like, scry to... Okay, so... At one point, where do you believe things get a little too fucking extra when I describe this to you? Alright, sir, we need to use magic. We have to use a ritual to find the blood relative of someone... of someone's daughter or granddaughter. Okay, cool. So how do we do that? Well, we have the corpse. All right, cool. Get the Dark Mage in here. Dark Mage, cut a piece of her flesh and eat it. Okay, cool. Then he starts having a fucking stroke. Okay, cool. So obviously you think at the end of that stroke he's gonna fucking tell everyone what's going on. No, gut him while he's having the stroke, cut him up the front, and then fucking let his guts spill out on the floor, get another Dark Wizard, and gently caress his heart. I know where she is now. Whoa, what the fuck just happened?
But I think, like, the magic in the Witcher's world varies wildly depending on what they're trying to do.
No fucking shit.
I will say, yeah, like...
The level of experimentation they had to go into figuring out how to do that spell. Who wants to volunteer to be the first guy to get gutted? Nope, didn't work that time. Maybe if you touch the next one's heart. Next!
Yeah, it's one of those things where I will say, like, in the last episode or two, I was, like, watching them do the dark magic to fight the other witches and wizards. And I was just watching them, like, they have to kill themselves, kill a whole witch who, like, it takes them like 100 years to get to where they need to get.
They're just ammo.
And you just spend them, and it's like, this seems really not.
That's why the Mage's Tower turns those people into eels. So you have your ammo, and they're just eels.
Yeah, but would they still have the fucking same sentience as before when you turn them into eels, so they know you're already fucking betraying them?
Yeah, they know they're there.
It's just
why would they go along with it?
It just seems like not a very economic war strategy to just spend your witches like their currency. It's like, you want to keep them around, right?
To be fair, Nilfgaard does not give a fuck about mages.
No, that's fair.
They don't give a fuck about them as people, but shouldn't you give a fuck about them as assets for your war?
Yes, but remember, what they were attacking there was a coven of strong witches.
Yeah, I guess maybe in this specific case it might be worth it.
I mean, like, it makes sense.
No.
Yeah, like, for the common man it wouldn't make any fucking sense, but against other wishes, like, I think fire versus fire is the way to go.
But I will say, when you see that they can just sort of deflect it, why keep doing that? Because they can deflect it.
It took an exceptionally strong witch to do that.
Yeah, but then they're all ready after that. So it seems like, do it again. We'll just see.
Keep going. They can't be that strong.
Okay, whatever the fuck you say.
And it's one of those things where I think just showing how dark magic is bad is like a little on the nose there to a point where it makes the bad guys look kind of stupid to me. But
there is another place in the whole franchise where you get the Xena Warrior Princess vibe instantly.
Yeah.
The Gold Dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the most, like...
That was the most Xena Warrior
sci-fi
Princess
channel
ever.
episode.
I liked that episode, but it did feel like a sci-fi original movie at times.
Yeah. It seemed like a pretty good one.
Yeah.
But
No, it was a good one, yes, but it was still sci-fi.
Like if sci-fi was still making Dungeons and Dragons movies, I'd be like, I'd buy it. I felt like it was one of my favorite shows that Netflix has put out in a hot minute. Like it's better than I thought it was going to be, which is probably the best credit I could give it. Which is like because I had hope for it, like a hope that it would scratch that itch that Game of Thrones continued to throw itch powder on. So
that's why I love high fantasy. Like
yeah.
that's this whole fucking thing. Well, what also added to it for me was me and my wife bought a projector, so we have a whole entire like 100-inch space wall that has nothing there. So we basically installed a movie theater in our own living room, and it lent itself so fucking well. And I am all about fucking high fantasy. So this was just like, nah. If you told me this or Game of Thrones, I'd pick this way above Game of Thrones.
So far, as far as consistency goes, yes, The Witcher is stronger than Game of Thrones.
But, when Game of Thrones only had 4 seasons, it was pretty consistent.
I'd say the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones is still stronger than the first season of The Witcher.
And I was like, some people would argue that The Witcher is low fantasy, but I think they're just confusing a more down-to-earth tone with the level of fantasy, but this is straight up high fantasy show.
Oh no, it's high fantasy because
you have monsters, you have magic,
fairy tale people in it. Like the first episode is about murdery Snow White. So
I feel like it does this thing where in most storybooks you have your premise and then you have the build up to the high fantasy, and then the high fantasy happens, and then you got a slow build to figure out how to reverse against it. Most of the episodes of The Witcher are the build up phase. And because then when the fucking high fantasy hits you, it takes both those 2 steps and right in your face.
Yeah, but it is a solid watch. Anybody that hasn't seen it, I can't recommend it enough personally.
Yeah,
just as somebody who really likes the franchise. You said you read the books. Would you recommend for anybody who's seen the show to either read or listen to them? I still got some Audible things to spend.
I mean, yeah, like if you listen to The Last Wish, which is the first collection of stories, it's basically a lot of the stories you saw in the show.
With the Striga and stuff like that.
There's collections of short stories. And they're fun enough. But honestly, if you're really enjoying the show, you might just want to let the show.
Yeah, and I probably will, even though at this point, while it has been renewed for a second season, and apparently they planned it out several seasons beyond that, we probably aren't going to be getting it until 2022 or 2021.
We live in an age where...
I think they're filming now. So.
Are they? Thank God. We live in a fucking age now where, like, normally when a show does good and it ends, that's when you consider building up for a second season. We now live in an age where you barely get the fucking pilot out and you already have 3 seasons.
Yeah.
You kind of have to do that, though, with the kind of... the what's the new hot thing kind of culture we live in, because so many shows, when
you have a streaming service, you need to keep people hooked.
So many shows have missed the boat on that because it's like, oh crap, people really like that, we need to make another season, and then by the time that next season comes about, people have already forgotten about how good their previous one was.
I guess my dumb, like, I used to watch on the boob tube fucking brain is just like, that seems very counterproductive and a very big gamble.
Yeah.
I think with streaming in particular, they want to plan for that because they just usually are like, we're getting at least 2 seasons just because they want to keep you hooked, keep you paying every single month.
I mean, I'm not against this. I'm not against this at all. I'm just like, it's a fucking weird thing where it's just like, oh, a show gets 1 pilot episode. Cool. Now there's like 4 seasons in the works. Fucking excuse what? What?
Yeah. Witcher... solid show. I think I can't wait for the second season, and I still got the song stuck in my head. I'm sure the rest of you out there who have seen it do as well.
Oh, Valley of Plenty.
Oh, Valley of Plenty. Oh.
I bet someone's already modded that fucking thing to happen like every waking second in the game.
Who knows, man? I mean, the modders gonna mod.
They'll make it happen.
There's one other show I watched on Netflix though, and I need to ask: have either of you seen BBC's Dracula?
No.
Good. Because I will say that this is one of those enjoy-a-bad kind of shows where it's absolutely awful, but there are a couple of things that keep me hooked. One, the guy playing Dracula loves playing Dracula so much, and his his joy for playing this character is infectious. And not to give away any of the twists or anything, but the lady playing the nun in the first episode, the main nun in the first episode, is also very good, and she's kind of throughout the show as well. It starts in such a bizarre way, because I saw tweets about this show, like, before it coming out. Specifically, Martin tweeted out, like, nope, I can't watch this. It's just too bad. I called the twist, and I watched to the end of the first episode, nope. Watched the beginning of the first episode and heard that the ending was bad. The ending is bad. But the first episode starts off with Jonathan Harker sitting in a church or a nunnery, I guess. Just he looks like a fucking zombie. Like, he looks like he's got Renfield to hell, because he just escaped Dracula's castle, and he's clearly some sort of ghoul or something right now. And they're trying to interview him about how he got out and what happened there. And the sister sits in front of him as this, like, more and more creepy shit start happening, like flies crawl on his eye and shit. And pretty cool effects. There's some good practical effects in this show. And the question that made me bust out laughing and kept me hooked and kept me watching: Jonathan, did you have sexual intercourse with Dracula?
Oh my god.
And I was like, fucking what? John, did you fuck Dracula?
You gotta tell me. You gotta let me know.
Why'd you fuck Dracula, John? And the first time you see Dracula in the show, he looks like Filch did a fusion dance with Tommy Wiseau. And I was like, John, did you fuck this man? Why'd you fuck Dracula?
Now I just imagine fucking Dracula coming out of an elevator dancing, then going back in again.
It is an obscenely sexual show. Granted, Dracula is a very, like, sexual character in his mythos, but...
Oh yeah, in the mythos, he fucks all the live long
but
goddamn
it's just
day.
like, oh my god, like...
John, did you fuck him?
Why'd you fuck... Because he makes the face like, ah! I'm like, why'd you fuck this man, John?
So who's the most eligible bachelor? That version of Dracula at the very beginning, Palpatine, or Gary Oldman, wrinkly old Dracula?
Ooh.
Who's our most eligible
Which
bachelor?
Dracula would I fuck?
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know.
Which gross Dracula?
Which gross Dracula would you fuck? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll catch you guys next time on the Talkcast Podshow. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Leaving them with a.
I'm leaving them with a.
Oh no,
question.
leave him with that.
Big
Leave him with that. Which wrinkle do you love?
An interaction. It's good for. It's good
Yeah,
for.
it's great. It's great
good
for
the
analytics.
Yeah.